Hi, this is Christina Etchberger from It's Military Life. I am so excited to be here today to talk about a wonderful children's book, Air Force Ace, with Air Force spouse and children's author, Katie Marcucci. And we also have two other special guests. We have Ace himself giving his little debut on Facebook Live. There's Ace. How are you doing, Ace?
Say good morning.
Good morning. Yes, of course. I'm so excited for you guys to be here. And I have Andy with me. She's also my little deployment buddy, my military, oh my gosh, my military family, wingman, everything. So I'm so excited to be talking a little bit more about your book, doing a little bit of a read aloud, and letting people know where to find your story.
Yes, thank you again. And thank you so much for having us. So this is actual Air Force Ace, kind of the inspiration behind the children's book.
Oh, so cute. There's nothing like a dog having, just being a part of the military experience, having them there during deployments and just everyday life. So I'm so excited. And oh, it's just so great. And I see Bobby Nelson. Good morning, Ace. Getting a little love there. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself and about your story, Air Force Ace.
Sure. So I have been married to my husband and thus the Air Force for over a decade now. And obviously with that has come many deployments. And about 3 years ago, my husband had a deployment. We were stationed in Okinawa, Japan at the time. And I had two little ones. I had a brand new baby and a 3.5-year-old son. And though that wasn't our first deployment by any means, it was really the first deployment that my son especially very much felt the absence of his dad and had a lot of questions and had a lot of emotions, as we all and I struggled not being a military child myself and knowing how to answer those tough questions, answer them in a way that was accurate but not too heavy. So finding that really tough balance. And the thought occurred to me that amongst all of us, our dog, who is 14, he was the most seasoned of in deployments out of all the in our family, in our household. So I used him as a means to kind of explain to them what deployment was. And lo and behold, it became this story that was just for my kids. And then I thought it could become something more helpful to a lot of other families since, everybody, regardless of branch, sadly, that's our common denominator. So it just kind of wasn't so much inspiration, but was born out of necessity. And here we are. And it just kind of took on a life of its own unexpectedly.
Yeah, oh, that's so amazing. And that's such a great way for kids to visualize deployment in such a fun, imaginative kind of way. Just the fact that Ace is kind of being a little bit of a detective there, trying to figure out what deployment is. So the kids know that the dad or the mom, whatever case it may be, is safe, is having fun, is happy, and I just love it. It's so inspiring.
Thank you so much. And I wanted to emphasize in the book that we can miss our family members, our deployed family members, and simultaneously be very proud of them. On the flip side, the deployed service member can be happy doing what they've been trained to do and also have a lot of pride in what they're doing, but simultaneously be missing home. I wanted to explain to kids especially that those emotions, you can have both of them. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's completely normal to have both those feelings, all those feelings.
Yes. Oh, that's so great. And it's especially so important to teach kids at such a young age that sharing their emotions, that every day is not going to be a happy day or just rainbows and sunshine, but there's little positive things within your day. each day for the military service member as well as the family. So that's so great. Now, can you share a little bit from your book?
I would love to. So I'm going to start toward the middle. And one of the things I'm most proud of with Air Force Ace, let's see, I'm going to write.
And then I'm gonna have your screen. So I'm gonna pop off so you can. There we go.
Okay. So one of the other things that I'm quite proud of, and the truth is had nothing to do with me, but I did intentionally seek out an illustrator who could portray aircrafts really well, who could really get the uniforms correct. Like, we worked very, very tediously on that. And I also wanted to find an illustrator that was going to do an accurate depiction. I didn't want, silly illustrations or things that didn't feel real. I needed it to be a real depiction. So I'm very proud of the illustrator as well from what he did. So I'm going to start right here. The premise is Ace has snuck onto his dad's deployment-bound aircraft. And previously, he's gone through and he kind of checked out the cafeteria. He has seen the runway, and now he has stumbled upon the barracks. So here we go. Let's see. Ace found himself in a room with row after row of beds. They weren't fancy, but they sure looked inviting. As he wandered the room, he saw many photos of happy families next to each bedside, laughing children hugging smiling parents, mommies and daddies holding babies, and lots of happy dogs next to their favorite airmen. One bed looked and smelled particularly inviting. Ace could not help but curl up on its pillow. He was very talented at sleeping and was snoring away in the blink of an eye. Here we go. Ace had no idea how long he'd been asleep, but his eyes opened immediately at the sweet sound of a most familiar voice. Ace, how can it be you're lying here on my bed? He heard Daddy exclaim. Ace didn't answer the question, but rather gave Daddy hundreds of kisses. How happy he was to see his dad. Daddy, in turn, looked concerned. Ace, I'm so glad to see you, he said, stroking his fur. I love you so much, and whenever I'm away, you can't imagine how much I miss you and our family. But a deployment is not where you should be. Ace looked a little hurt. Daddy continued to explain, deployments are very busy with lots of helping to do. Sometimes that means we work long hours, use heavy equipment made for grown-ups only, or even travel to distant places for a few days. We wouldn't have anywhere to play together, and you would be very bored waiting for me. Here, let me show you. Ace stayed right by Daddy's side as they exited the barracks, returning to the hot dirt and bright sun. The whirring sounds of airplane engines grew louder as Ace and Daddy walked closer to the flight line. Daddy pointed out, over there is my aircraft, Ace, the mighty MC-130J. It's right there. And again, that's where I was talking about. We really wanted to get the uniforms, the aircraft, the landscape right. Ace instantly recognized its four propellers. The back of the aircraft was open, and small vehicles with large crates were zipping in and out. My friends are working hard to load food and water so we can share it with those in nearby villages who are thirsty and hungry, exclaimed Daddy. Pointing again, he continued, over there is a CV-22, ready to deliver books and school supplies for local children, right here. And in the distance, a C-17 is coming in for landing with more helpers on board, ready to get these and other jobs done. Ace could see it was busy, hard, important work. He was sure proud of Daddy and the good he was doing on deployment. Daddy knelt down next to Ace and whispered, thank you for loving me, Ace, as I love you. At the same time, I need you to go home to Mommy and little brother and baby sister. You can tell them I am safe and happy and healthy because you have seen and smelled it yourself. Ace's tail wagged away. He was sad to leave Daddy, but glad to share this new information with his family. So that's an excerpt, and thereafter, Ace smuggles back onto another aircraft and returns home to share that Daddy is indeed doing just fine.
Oh, that's just so sweet. That's so sweet. Just the perspective and just the way that they're able to connect. And then the dad even knows, okay, he is a member of the family. Truly is. Oh, that's awesome.
And one of my favorite lines, I didn't read the particular page, but the very last page says, as Ace arrives home to his mom and his siblings, he says, we will wait for Daddy, but in the meantime, we'll all take care of each other. And that's all. Just that everybody's on a team, it's hard and everybody's going through lots of emotions on a deployment, but all you can do is take care of each other.
Oh, that's so special. I absolutely love it. I can't wait to get that for my sons because my sons, I have a 3-and-a-month-old and then I have a 1-year-and-a-month-old. So they're about 2 years apart. And I know for our deployment, which was back in the spring of this year, my then 2-year-old was kind of curious, but we just talked about it and, just went on our merry way and discussing what deployment was, where Daddy was, and FaceTime was really helpful. But I know for our next deployment, it's going to be a whole different ballgame.
It really is. And that's what I learned kind of the hard way is that, when my kids were itty bitty, my son was itty bitty, the distraction was there. We could have family come in, we could travel. In the time, he wasn't aware of the time gap as much, yes. But about that age, 3.5, 4, there's just a lot of emotions for a 3 and 4-year-old anyway. So you just the awareness of the absence of your loved one, at that age, I think just all of a sudden becomes so much greater than it had ever been. So I just, to be honest, kind of didn't really find anything that hit the mark of answering the questions and giving like an actual mental picture of where he is or where that parent is and what they're doing. And by the time they're in that preschool, 5, 6, 7, they're old enough to get some answers. So
yes, and what a great resource. Now, how do people find your book? And I know you also have a really great program as well where you provide the books in mass quantity too, correct?
Correct. So ironically, this morning, and it's a little bittersweet, I sold my last copy of Air Force Ace from my personal inventory that was in my house. So I'm very proud of that, but at the same time, it was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did it. But the book remains available on Amazon.com. So Air Force Ace, just in the search at Amazon.com. It's also at Barnes & Noble. And then it's also, you can buy it directly through the publishing company, mascotbooks.com. And I do have a website, www.airforceacebook.squarespace.com. And so that's where people did order it from. And so I'll have to either do a resupply or currently in the next couple of days, Amazon, mascotbooks.com, and the resource of getting Air Force Ace.
Oh, that's so wonderful. And I'll make sure I include that because I will be having a blog post on It's Military Life to share a little bit more about your book and your life. And it's just been such a pleasure talking with you. And yes, I'll be ordering my copy very soon for my boys.
Yay, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anytime soon, but you never know when a deployment is around the corner.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we're thinking maybe possibly next year. So we'll see, I guess.
Also, like you said, I've also had the opportunity to work with a lot of different military agencies through the Army and the Air Force mostly to get the books in mass quantities to families who are currently facing a deployment. And that above all was like my goal, to get these books to families at no cost to them. So I've been really pleased with working with Army Community Services and Airman Family Readiness, like at Travis Air Force Base. And most recently, I worked with POTIF, which is Preservation of the Force and Family, and it's an Air Force Special Operations specific support system. So I worked with them in Okinawa, Japan, where I just was, and then in Mildenhall, where we were a couple of years ago. So it's really like, it feels very full circle to give back to those places and locations that supported me so much when my family was going through deployments.
Oh, that's so amazing. And thank you for doing that, because that's so generous and so giving to our military families. And I'll make sure I include that as well on the blog post. And again, thank you so much for coming on here. And please thank Ace as well.
Like I said, he's 14. So, you know, that was his 10 minutes of activity, and now he's sleeping again.
Well, thank you again. And thanks from Andy, as well as It's Military Life. And yes, look out for the blog post. Going to be posted out in the next half hour to an hour. And yes, have a wonderful holidays if we don't see you.
Thank you so much, Christina. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yes, of course. Okay. Have a great rest of your day.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.